This episode has been brought to you from the DGMS Studios, home of Don't Get Me Started, Lethal and Mully Live, and Surftown. Found at Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, and wherever you listen to your podcast. Hello and welcome to Don't Get Me Started. It's the mother of all podcasts with Keith and Lee. How you been this week with the heat? It's been 30 degrees. You okay?
Yes, mate, I am. In fact, I'm fired up, if you will forgive the little pun there. Actually, I don't mind it.
It's hot.
It's very hot and it's humid. As a friend of mine used to say, it's very close. But I don't mind that. You adjust. And, of course, there's little pleasures in it, Lee. You can get up early in the morning, go out onto your balcony, have a nice breakfast, and the evening coolness kind of comes and soothes you.
It does. Now, the humidity here is different from Europe, so all our international listeners will go, that's amazing. In Europe, it's a dry heat. In Australia, it's a muggy, soupy hot. It's like wearing an iron lead coat you carry it around with you every day. I don't mind it. I'm not complaining about it. But when it's 30 odd and it's 35, 36 today, we're in an air-conditioned studio. But man, you go outside, it's like walking in an oven. I remember coming to Australia for the first time. Walking out the aeroplane, felt like I was walking into an oven.
Oh, my God. Actually, I've written about this. I've written in my memoirs a book called Dyslexic in Hong Kong, which is available Amazon.
Bestseller, isn't it?
Yes. I think I've sold, how many have I sold of those? 6 so far. So if you want to increase my bank balance, dear listeners, Dyslexic in Hong Kong.
There's no zeros after the 6, though.
No.
So it's just 6?
It's just 6.
Ah, okay.
Only. It tells of my time in Hong Kong. Now, if anybody has been to Hong Kong and Southeast Asia, and all the way down even to the top of Australia, Darwin, the humidity in those locations is almost as thick as peanut butter, liquid peanut butter. And if you go to Hong Kong for the first time in summer, you walk out through the air-conditioned, very modern, brilliant airport, which is a floating island, actually. And when you walk out of that and go straight into the summer weather heat, it's like walking into liquid peanut butter. It is just insane.
Yeah, similar to Singapore.
Yes, Singapore.
On the same line, the equator line.
Singapore's a little bit lower.
Oh, is it?
I think,
okay.
Yes. But I spent some time in Saigon. It was worse. But Singapore, yes, definitely. Now, I haven't been to Darwin in my own country, but I believe that's quite humid as well.
Well, we had Graham on, remember, the professional punter. He stayed in Darwin. He goes, God, what am I doing here? Can't go outside, can't swim. Let's leave this place. It's too hot.
Yeah, well, see, down here in Noosa, our climate is subtropical, and we don't get prolonged periods of heat and humidity like this. It's generally this time of the year, mid-January through to the end of February, where we get this thick humidity. We just get very good, nice, warm days through summer, soft, warm days through winter. Pretty much a great climate. So, no, I'm not too worried about it, Lee.
Now, stop me.
Yes.
If I've told you this before.
I shall.
It's a typical saying from you, Mully. Now, stop me if I told you before.
Because I do repeat myself.
I remember very clearly first coming to Noosa and I was walking down the junction and I walked past these 2 dudes and they were saying, oh, man, it's so hot here. If I could leave Noosa from November to March, I'll be happy. And I walked past them. I'm going, you miserable git. You're crazy. What are you talking about? I've come from cold. This is just amazing. Now, I've become that dude that says if I can leave Noosa from November to March, I'll be happy.
No.
Because the winters here are just incredible. 24, 26 degrees, no humidity, beautiful.
Well, they are, but Noosa is made for summer. The nights just dance. They come alive. And, of course, you get a sea breeze, so you cool down. Even if you don't go out to enjoy the street life, the restaurants, what Noosa has to offer, you can always find shade, that breeze, as the evening comes in.
Let's go a little bit further afield, because I don't want to be a guy that keeps talking about Noosa. Mm-hmm. But you can't help it. It's just where we are. Let's talk, and I think we mentioned it before, about the Australian Open.
Oh, the tennis.
And what's been going on down there.
Yes.
and the debacle that's been happening with the fans, with the commentators, with the players. It's like bratish behaviour. It's unbecoming from a fellow Australian as myself because it's wrong. They shouldn't be portraying it like this. I'm all for excitement and enthusiasm, but when it gets down to bogan behaviour, and especially one commentator too, it doesn't give a really nice light on our home, Australia. What do you think?
No, I agree with you. Well, see, the problem, one of the, I guess it's a little problem in one respect, is that Australia is very isolated. We are referred to by a lot of people as down under, and we are an island. So we don't share borders.
Didn't Paul Keating call it the arse end of the world?
Why? Mr. Paul Keating, one of my great prime ministers.
Oh, you're not a Keating fan, are you?
Big time. We won't go into that. Actually, we might on another podcast, but we don't share borders. So if you live in, say, Switzerland or Germany, go out your backyard on a Sunday afternoon, you can smell the sausages being barbecued over in Belgium. You can smell what the French are cooking for their evening meal because everybody's so close. And they share culture and they share traditions and it's all mixed in. Now, we don't have a lot of that. And it's only been the last 30 years that international travel has been available to the masses down here. So we're a very young culture, if you like. Plus, we're the white man in the black man's country at the bottom of a continent full of yellow people. So we are an imported culture that came from England, and the people who came from England initially were convicts.
So getting back to what we were saying.
So what I'm saying is this: we don't have a heritage of sophistication. We're not people who are steeped in sophistication. We're a bunch of bloody rednecks and bogans.
Yeah, but it wasn't always like that. 5 years ago, it wasn't like that. I posted something on my Facebook saying this is the era of dumbness, where people are just acting dumb.
Yeah, they are, and they're celebrating it.
Celebrating it.
Yeah, it's like, this is great, this is really cool. We're getting dumber. Somebody released all this into our culture. Hollywood movies, Dumber and Dumber and Jackass and all that sort of stuff, and people just want to think.
But that's like a comedy element. You can take it or leave it. But this is like sort of worldwide. I mean, let's not even start on America and their new president. If you're talking dumbasses, there we are. Sorry, America, but you wanted him, you got him.
Look, I really worry about America because obviously, first of all, I think their name is misleading. They call themselves the United States. They're not.
Anything but.
They're very divided. It's always been divided as far as I know. They've had a civil war, for example, and then if people don't like their presidents, they shoot them.
Yeah.
And then you go to different parts of America, there's different culture, different way of thinking. So it's the big challenge for America is if they can keep all those states together as a republic. They're in danger of separating and falling apart. But if you go to, so what I'm trying to say is this: America obviously has a lot of smart people. So many inventions come out of there: computers, hairdryers, cars, driverless cars, all our digital technology, jet engines, rockets. You go on and on. There's so many people over there that are like so many people here in Australia. We're kind of celebrating this dumbness. We're full of redneck, and I don't think they call them bogans over there, but apparently our
rednecks, I think they call them.
Yeah, well, our Western countries are full of this.
Now, the other thing, talking about America, which just reminded me, you spoke to a gentleman in Milwaukee on the surf town.
Yes, I did.
And he was enthusiastic, he was lively.
Yes.
And he celebrated who he was. Now, I think maybe you should ask the question later, like, how do you think of your new president? How's that working? Bring that in. But the other thing is what I wanted to say, which ties in with Surftown, you've got a new listener in Houston, Texas.
Really?
How's that? I noticed that this morning.
Well,
Houston, Texas.
Well, for those of you who may not know what Lee is talking about, I run another podcast called Surftown, which is entirely devoted to surfing, which is a sport I've devoted my entire life to. And it's my pleasure to be able to interview different people, which is what I do. So to hear that I have another listener in Houston, I can only say, hello, Houston. Good to hear that you're listening, mate, and I hope that you're getting a lot out of it.
Texas, the big old state of Texas.
Well, you might be surprised to know, Lee, there is surf in Texas, down in the Gulf. There's surf down there all over their coast. Now, we're not here to talk necessarily about just trivial things.
No, so we were talking about Australia, we were talking about the Australian Open. And
what do I think? No, I don't like it. I think that this is an international event. We should step up. We should should try and start to be a lot more considerate and sophisticated in our behaviour. And you mentioned the commentator who voiced some of that redneck bogan sort of sentiments in the way he addressed a bunch of Serbian fans, and I thought it was pretty poor. And of course, that broadcast goes global. Hundreds of millions of people will hear that and they go, what's wrong with these bloody Aussies? You know?
Yeah, I just find it disappointing. I think we as a country are better than that. And me being adopted by this beautiful country, Australia, I think it's all for the promotion of that, the commentator, but it's not unusual.
No, but see, the thing that's really disturbing about this is actually there's a tinge of sadness about it, is that you have that element that comes in and it's highlighted and it's, of course, broadcast. But this is such a brilliant sporting event. The facilities down there to host a huge tennis Grand Slam, a first class, equal to anything in the world. It's becoming a real carnival, a really special place to go and watch some world-class tennis. Perhaps that aspect of becoming a multicultural sort of place, multi-activity sort of venue during the Australian Open of Tennis is why we're having some sort of frivolous behaviour.
Well, hopefully it's just a season and it will pass and then it won't be repeated.
Maybe they can say, all right, guys, we have to develop some tradition here like Wimbledon. Okay, from now on, you tennis players, you can't come out in colours. All right, you guys, you can't do, the fans, you can't do this, you can't do that. Let's try and bring some decorum into the whole event.
Absolutely.
Like I grew up on a tennis court. My grandfather had a grass tennis court in his backyard. And every Saturday, the family and close family friends would come over there and play. And they'd have their own little sort of internal competition, taken quite seriously, but it was a social event. Now, you did not play unless you were in whites. You couldn't play.
And afterwards, you had Pims with cucumber sandwiches in triangles. Is that?
Very, very close. Well, Nana, we had on the back left corner, there was a little sort of semi-open rotunda, which we used to call the doll's house. And they'd sit up there and watch and do the scoring. It was all scored. It was all done correctly. And at precisely 3 o'clock, Nana would come out with tea, not coffee, tea. And she used to croquet, do the, with the knitting. And she would have the little doily over the top of the little tin kettle. And then you'd have these milk pitchers with the horizontal white and blue stripes and only iced Vovo biscuit.
Vovo.
And when the afternoon tea was being served, no games were being played. Now,
that was every Saturday?
Every Saturday,
wow.
all year round. I can remember it. I grew up with that. And my grandmother was a bit of a snob, actually, and she thought she was British.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she did. And
you sound like it's a bad thing, Molly.
Well, I'm bloody Aussie, mate. I'll throw and throw. And my birthday's the same day as Sir Winston Churchill. I used to go over there and she used to give me 2 bob, which is 24 pence, which is now 20 cents these days. She used to pat me on the head and say, same birthday as Sir Winston Churchill. Maybe one day you'll grow up.
You clever boy.
Yeah, you'll grow up to be Prime Minister of Australia. And I did have a period in my life where I should, how can I best describe it? Well, I went wayward for quite a few years, Lee, and indulged.
I hope that you're enjoying the podcasts and the content that we're bringing to you each week. I want to take a moment to invite you to support the show. Your contributions help us continue creating high-quality episodes, bringing in exciting guests and exploring the topics you love. Every bit helps, whether it's a small donation or signing up for our Patreon account. By supporting us, you're not just helping keeping the lights on, you're becoming part of our community and helping us grow. To show our appreciation, we offer exclusive perks, behind-the-scenes content, and so much more for our supporters. So if you love what we do and you want to see us thrive, please consider signing up at buzzsprout.com/don't get me started. Support the show. Thank you for being part of our journey, and let's keep the conversation going.
Put it that way.
Yeah, well, as we all do, Molly. But let's move on, because that's another podcast. That's probably a series of podcasts, 1 to 6, I reckon, with you.
It would be...
and still continuing.
Escapades.
You did what, Molly?
Escapades that I've diverted my life direction into and survived. A couple of them I went close.
Well, let's get on to our topic. And so, Mully, the topic is...
Well, it's a little bit unusual this time around, Lee, but it's something that I've been thinking about. It's a question. Is it possible to be in love with two people at the same time?
I love this one.
Do you? Why do you love this?
When you mentioned it before, I thought, yeah. Well, you know me, Mully, I fall in love at a drop of a hat, and I have loved more than one woman. At one particular time, depending on the degree and the depth of love, I'm going to take a leaf out of your book, Mully, because you're the scripture man. So this is 1 Corinthians. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. So if you can implement that in my love triangle, it's probably a pretty good level for what I thought love would be. Now, the girl in question was also in love with somebody else. So there was a triangle on top of a triangle.
That's doing my head in.
Gets a little bit complicated. The answer to your question, yes, I do believe you can love two people.
So why did you roll the scripture out for?
Well, because every now and again, Mully, over our podcast, you say, there is something in the Bible that says this. And I'm thinking, where does he get these from? So I thought love. I'm thinking, I remember that love is so much more than just the 4-letter word. So I thought, let's see really what love is. Because if you can fall in love with 2 women, what is love? And if it's 2 women, what about 3 women? What about 4 women? What if you're a Mormon? Now, I saw a series some time ago. I don't know whether it's still on now. It's called Sister Wives. Mormon, 4 wives. My goodness, when I watched it, I thought, how can you manage and maintain the relationships with 4 women? 4 different houses. I guess in maybe 20-odd kids. At the end, he was just left with 1. The other 3 left. I don't know how long they were married to him for or the reasons why they broke up. But 4, Mully, please. I struggle with 1, let alone 4. Whether I take my hat off to him and say, well done, fella, or what are you doing?
Yeah, well, I've been exposed to quite a bit in life, and I've noticed that some other cultures approach marriage differently to what us Westerners do in the modern age, in the 2020. It has been for some time. Now, what I think is that often us Westerners want to marry somebody who we think is our perfect soulmate, somebody who we can share life with on an equal footing in many ways. And certainly, as I said, in the 2020s, the traditional form of the man looking after the affairs of the family in the house outside, mows the lawn, washes the car, paints the house, goes out, earns the money, brings it in, while the wife looks after the children and the housekeeping and becomes a homemaker. A lot of that has disappeared, although it's still there. And it seems to me that a lot of other cultures keep those traditional lines. The man, the husband, has a certain sphere that he operates in, and the woman, the wife, she has her womanly world that she operates in. So I'd imagine, Lee, when I hear you talk about sister wives, that man perhaps had all those wives, those 4 wives, locked into some sort of role where they had to be a wife.
Right.
Not so much a partner, but a wife. They'll look after the children, the family, the home, the washing, the cooking, etc. While he goes out and does whatever he does to keep the whole circus running along. How many children did they have?
I'm guessing, but I think they must have had around 15 to 20 children between the 4.
That guy must have been Superman. Not on many levels, not just, the amorous side, but the providing side. How could you afford 4 houses?
Well, this is the thing, and the series portrayed that, and so they had to beg, steal and borrow, but he did it. So, good on him. He got through it, got it done. I think to fall in love with 2 women, I think it's more common than what we think. And of course, love, as I just explained, is various stuff, but you can be attracted to another intellectually or affectionate, and it could lead on to love. I ask myself a question is, could you love somebody, fall out of love with that somebody, then fall back in love with that somebody? Is love the problem? Or is the law the problem, where a lot of people would like to have more than one husband part? There is stories that I've read that they encourage it, and also not only for the husband but for the wife too, that she can partake into as well. What's good for the goose, good for the gander. I'm all for that. A lot of people frown upon that. Christians will. It's wrong. It's against the law to have more than one wife. Maybe would you do it, Mully? If there was no law, would you be able to look after all shapes and forms, spiritually, emotionally, physically, 2 wives?
No.
I couldn't either.
No, I couldn't. But let me just go back to the question, is it possible to fall in love with 2 women at the same time, rather than just talking about the dynamic? I think it is possible, because many, many years ago, in long distant past of mine, that's exactly exactly what happened.
To you?
Yes, I fell in love with another woman while I was in love with a current woman. And I remember when I saw her and started talking, and there was another person there as well. And I remember looking at this woman and I thought, and I can still hear the words that went through my head. And I said, I think I've fallen in love. I'd only known her for hardly known her. I'd only just met her for about 10 minutes, probably less. But I was already madly in love, like I'd never been before with this other person.
So you really wasn't in love with the person before then, if you said you fell madly in love?
Oh, absolutely.
So that's the love part again.
Yes. Now, both loves were intense, but they were different. And I'm not sure how they were different, because I just know that they were, because I was looking for something from both of them separately. And that's the thing that I find interesting about that scripture that you read out. Part of it says, love doesn't seek its own way. My understanding of my own experience is that most of the time I want to seek something out of loving somebody, that person is going to give me back that emotional warmth, that emotional feeling that makes me just want to float or feel like I'm floating through life.
That will make you a different person. It will make you glow because you're happy.
Yes.
And then everything else, everything fits in beautifully because you're happy, you're fulfilled. And then another person comes along that notices that, and you partake into their life as well. And then all of a sudden, an attraction starts.
Yes. Now, I've just got it listening to you. The first woman that I was in love with just totally blew my mind and scrambled my brain. I just was completely consumed. And I remember sitting in a movie watching, I don't know, I can't remember what it was, but there was a love scene and it's Hollywood. And I'm crying, for heaven's sake, because I'm just caught up in romance. I just romance this woman, I'm walking down the street thinking about her and flowers were popping before my eyes on a sunny day.
Have you been reading my diary, Mully?
reading your mind, that's how you think all the time, Now, the other woman that I fell in love with, there wasn't that joyous explosion of colour and poetry and music. There was a fulfillment that this person was the right one.
Wow.
This person was the one that was the partner that made me complete. So the dynamics of both of them were different.
Let me ask this question. Are you with either of them?
No, like I said, it was a long, long, long time ago.
What happened, Mully?
Oh, you make stupid decisions. You take yourself away from what perhaps should have been the right one and the right path for you.
Do you still feel that way with these women?
One I do.
One.
Have a guess.
I couldn't.
Well, I've already told you. One made me feel like I was hearing music everywhere I went.
Oh, I thought you wanted me to name a name.
No.
Okay, yeah.
And the other one was the one that made me feel like, yes, that's the one I should be with.
Well, I think that too with a few of mine, but I am my wife's listening. Of course, darling, you are the one, and you are the one. I remember my father-in-law speaking to me saying how blessed, fortunate, whatever, that I found my soulmate so early. And I did. And I was very thankful that I did, because we shared so much in all walks of life. But the other girls, which aren't a lot of girls, I really wasn't that type of Don Juan Casanova. I'm very faithful, very intimate with that one person. And all the girls that I want to remember, I remember very fondly, and they do basically add part to my life. And I'm thankful that I had a relationship, even now. And I remember saying to you before about stepping stones and where I am now. It's all part of the stepping stones. So I celebrate that relationship with. So I'm very happy with my decisions. But I wasn't put in a position where I was hoodwinked into a relationship, or I had to. I was bored. I felt sorry for them. It was generally 100% on my part, which even now with other people I know, I have love for them, but it won't go any further than a platonic relationship.
When you say there's other people that you have love for them, do you, at the end of the day, when you're laying on your pillow and the mind is still and the affairs of the day are past and the soft night comes in and the mind goes to very strange places in that situation, do you find that person that you profess to love comes into your mind? You drift off?
Not one particular person. There's many, because there's many beautiful people out there. They've got beautiful minds. They are so caring and considerate. They're unselfish. All the things that I really enjoy.
Oh my God, I'm hearing violins over here, Lee. Jeez.
And their lives haven't been great like mine and yours and everything else. Things come in and it distorts your vision. It distorts your life. And then you get narked and angry and then you get bitter. And these people haven't. And some of these people have had terrible lives, but they still smile through it. They still still stand strong. And I love who they are for doing that, for waking up in the morning. It's like you and I, Molly. We woke up this morning, so we were on the wake-up list. A lot of these people don't want to be on the wake-up list.
That's pretty grim.
Because their lives. And so these are some of the people who I really care about that have led really shocking lives. So the love for them is in a different form.
Yeah, it is. It's not a romantic love.
No.
It's a good heart. It's a love deep empathy because you have a good heart.
Looking up the love and what it is, it incorporates that too. On the personal level, for when I was young, free and single, I could easily love two women at the same time.
Now, we as blokes have confessed that that's our experience. What about women? Do you think they could love two men at the same time?
Absolutely.
The same depth of romantic love, or they want something different out of it?
I think so. I don't think there's much difference between, well, you could go into different cliches of what people say, but I think on the same par, they want to have that warmth, that connection, not just from one, but from more. And what's wrong with it? I don't think there's anything wrong with it whatsoever, as long as it's not hurting anybody, as long as if the other part or people are participating in fully, what's the issue? There's no issue for me for a female to have multiple partners, as long as they look after themselves.
Wait a minute. Multiple partners, how? Like, in a romantic relationship, or are you talking a physical as well?
All in the above, whatever. So, I know a lot of girls that have a lot of friends in men. Nothing sexual. They're friends. And I wish I could be friends to, especially the exes that I had, but I was never that fortunate. My friends could go out and they could do this, they walk away and nothing happens to them. I would do that, walk away. I'll give an example of one lady I was with and I found out she was seeing somebody else. I thought, okay, this is not really good for me. So I went round to her house and told her about, and she went off. She went completely off.
Anger.
You come round here again, I'm going to call the police. Get out my house if you don't get out. And I'm saying, well, I'm not stealing anything. I'm not taking anything for you. I'm just coming around and say, look, our relationship's come to an end. But it was fine for her to have another relationship with another guy who was her boyfriend before. And he seemed to be okay with that too, because he knew I was seeing her, but I wasn't okay with it.
Why weren't you okay?
Well, because I'm the type where I can love two women at the same time, but I won't indulge in two women at the same time. I give everything to this one that I'm with. Love the one you're with.
You're a complex character, Lee. Sometimes I'm listening to you here and I'm thinking, this guy's open and he said, not hurting anybody. Yeah, okay. Then you turn around and say, but you can't do it because you only want to be loyal with one person.
Yeah, because not everybody's like me and I'm not like everybody else. And a lot of people don't like the way that I see life black and white. A lot of people see grey and they love swimming in that grey.
All right, well, let me put the horse up to your door a little bit more directly.
Horse up to the door.
You can agree that you can be in love with two people at the same time.
Yeah.
So if you were in love with two people at the same time and you were in a committed relationship with one, she was okay with you having not so much a committed relationship but a deep relationship with the other person. You're fine with it.
What, for me to have a relationship with somebody else apart from her?
Yes.
And she thinks that's okay?
Yes.
Yeah, it wouldn't be okay with me.
It would?
No. It wouldn't be okay.
So you can agree it can happen, but you would not like to be involved in that practice?
No, because I could not be genuine enough to two like I can with one. Now, I've loved somebody, this is going to make you laugh, from the age of 11, and I still love her now, all these years. And my wife knows who she is. She's always been a beautiful woman, a beautiful soul, a beautiful heart. And I've loved her for so long and still do, but not in the way that I want to be with or have a relationship with her. I love her for who she is, and that will carry on to my dying day.
Yes, okay, I get it. So, and not only do you have that love and feeling for that particular person, you're saying you can also have that with another one and another one, even 4 or 5 or 6. Okay, I get it. But not to the same level of deep attachment that you have to the one who's your wife, who you are committed to.
No,
okay,
not at all.
So you're saying then there's various degrees of love.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to portray that first up, what love is, because there is, like I said, different degree, different depth of love. And there's nothing wrong with that. If it makes you feel great, what's the harm? Like I said, what's the harm?
Well, the harm, I think, would be if cross a certain boundary and then emotions and jealousy comes into it and hurt feelings, and then it's a different ballgame, because it's very easy to slip into that type of thing. If I could speak frankly for a moment, I have a friend female friend, we've only ever been friends, but we're really close. She was telling me that she had a sex partner that she met regularly, and it was purely on the grounds of gratification. There was nothing more in it, but it became a mess. She fell in love with him.
Uh-oh.
At the moment it went beyond the physical arrangement and it came to matters of emotion and matters of the heart, the whole thing became hard. They couldn't continue, and she had her heart hurt, if not broken, because he did not love her the way that she fell in love with him. And it took her a long time to get over it. So the danger of being in love with two people, or being in love and committed with one person and sharing your love around a little bit, no matter how it is described or outworked, can run a degree of danger.
But it's hard though, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I've never been in that situation because, when I was many years ago, when I was in love with two women, I made a choice fairly quickly and went, whoosh, one's out and the other one is on.
Whoosh. I love that. Next, please.
Well, I'm not quite as clinical as that. Yeah, it didn't get messy.
And that thing that can happen, and I would like to see the statistics of that, of the couples that do get messy over time, because it does. Because as you said, get jealous. That comes into play. And then once that happens, it's all over, Red Rover.
It is all over, and our time's all over too.
It is, and it went so quick too. It must have been a subject you and I both enjoy, Molly. Well done.
I was thinking about our discussion, our episodes the other day, and I thought, out there in podcast land, there's all these professional and semi-professional and wannabe opinion givers. And you and I, we discuss, I think. We're not really here to tell anybody this is how it is.
No.
We just share with each other our opinion, or have a discussion rather about what we're thinking more than our opinions. But our opinions come into it at times, of course. But we mainly discuss. And I like that. Now, it's the art of conversation with you and I would like to think, Lee, is not dead.
Absolutely not. All our listeners out there, if you've got a comment to make or you don't agree with what Molly or I have said, please send us an email. Don't get me started, 2024@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear any responses that come for it. Or you've got some really good stories you'd like us to share. Send us an email. And on that note, Molly.
Do I get the last word?
I'll leave you the last word, mucker.
Well, Lee, this has been an unusual episode. Have been thinking as we have been talking, oh my God, we're talking about love again. We'll talk about anything actually, but it's been good. I love sharing with you, Lee. So thanks for your time, mate. It's been great. And for all our listeners, thank you for tuning in. And until next time, I just would please encourage you to like, share, subscribe. And until next time, it's hooroo from me.
And it's goodbye from me.